wind sliced through the skeletal pines like a spectral blade, its mournful howl a ceaseless lament that seemed to carry the weight of centuries as I gripped the radio microphone, its cold metal pressing into my palm. 3 months had carved their mark into my soul since I ascended this fire lookout tower perched atop the rugged spine of the Mount Baker-Snoqualmie National Forest. Yet the oppressive silence between my conversations with Adam still gnawed at my frayed nerves, a void filled only by the crackling static that bridged our isolation. Below, the forest sprawled in every direction, an endless tapestry of emerald and shadow where trees stretched toward the jagged mountains on the horizon, their peaks cloaked in mist that hinted at secrets buried deep. The beauty was undeniable, a wild symphony of nature's design, but beneath it lurked an unease that coiled tighter with each passing day, a sensation I could neither name nor escape. "You're overthinking it, Dave," Adam's voice crackled through the speaker, his familiar laugh threading through the static like a lifeline cast into a stormy sea. After 2 years in these solitary outposts, he spoke with the authority of experience, claiming dominion over every peculiar sound the wilderness could conjure. Rustling leaves, snapping twigs, the distant yip of a coyote. For him, this job was a deliberate choice, a sanctuary where solitude wove a bond with nature, and the responsibility of safeguarding thousands of acres fueled a quiet pride. For me, it was a reluctant refuge, the decent pay a tether after my last construction job collapsed under economic strain, leaving me adrift. Now, ensconced in this metal eyrie, I endured nights where sounds slithered into my consciousness. Unearthly screeches, wails that defied explanation, and cries that brushed the edge of human sorrow, each one raising the hairs on my neck and planting seeds of dread in my mind. 2 weeks prior, a transfer had reshaped my world. Adam, once my neighbor in this very tower, had been reassigned 40 miles north, his departure leaving me an island unto myself. The radio remained my lifeline, its intermittent crackle a reminder of human connection, but the vast distance transformed the job's essence. Before, if danger loomed, Adam could have reached me in a few hours, his presence a bulwark against the unknown. Now I waited for the next supply run, days away, the isolation a palpable weight that pressed against my chest. I set the microphone down, its clatter echoing in the sparse room, and moved to the west-facing window, the glass cool against my fingertips. The afternoon sun cast a golden veil over the forest, its rays dancing on the treetops, lending an almost serene beauty to the landscape. During daylight, the place held a deceptive peace. Pretty, even, if one could overlook how the trees crowded the tower's base, their branches scraping the metal like the tentative touch of a restless spirit. Yet at night, when darkness swallowed all beyond my feeble circle of light, the forest transformed into a realm of shadow and menace. The sounds began their nightly ritual around midnight, a chorus that defied the normalcy of wildlife I'd known from childhood camping trips, screeches that lingered beyond natural duration, wails that ricocheted from unseen corners, and a sound that might have been crying if I allowed my imagination to wander too far. Last week, a scream had pierced the stillness, its origin lost in the dense foliage, prompting a frantic radio call to dispatch. Their response, no missing hikers, no distress calls, offered no solace, only deepening the mystery that gnawed at my resolve. I lifted the microphone again, my voice tentative. "Adam, you ever hear anything that just didn't sound right? Not animal sounds, but something else." The silence that followed was a chasm, the static a mocking echo, until his voice returned, stripped of its usual levity. "What kind of something else?" I paused, the words heavy with the weight of my fear. "Screaming, maybe, or crying. Things that make you want to check the door locks, even 30 feet off the ground." His laugh resurfaced, but it was a brittle shell, forced through gritted teeth. "Man, you're letting this place get to you. The acoustics here play tricks. Sound bounces off the mountains, carries farther than it should. A coyote howl from 5 miles away can sound like a woman crying." I yearned to accept his explanation. His 2 years of experience outshone my novice tenure, his counsel a beacon in my uncertainty. Yet the sounds I endured bore no resemblance to coyote calls. Too deliberate, too rhythmic, too human in their cadence, and their frequency had escalated with each passing night. "You've been here 3 months now," he pressed. "If something was really wrong, wouldn't you have figured it out?" 94 days, to be precise, though I'd ceased counting after the first week, when time's sluggish crawl became a torment. I'd harbored hopes that isolation would mellow, that I'd adopt Adam's reverence for the quiet, finding peace in the solitude. Instead, each dawn sharpened my awareness of my severance from civilization, the hours it would take for rescue to pierce this green abyss if calamity struck. As dusk deepened, painting the sky in hues of violet and gray, Adam signed off to tend to his readings, his parting words, "You're safe up there," a hollow refrain that mocked my growing dread. Safe? The notion felt foreign as night unfurled its cloak. No tangible threat had emerged, no intruders, no beasts beyond the occasional black bear ambling through the undergrowth. But the pervasive wrongness permeated the air, a shadow that clung to the edges of my perception. Hours later, the nightly symphony resumed, screeches that pierced the silence, wails that seemed to dance across the treetops, cries that Adam dismissed as wildlife. I sat, 30 feet above the ground, ensconced in my metal sanctuary, questioning if this job was the gravest misstep of my life. The pay anchored me, a financial lifeline surpassing any alternative, its seasonal nature a promise of future stability. Yet each night, as those unearthly noises ascended from the forest floor, I tallied the cost of abandonment, lost wages, dwindling savings, wondering if any remuneration could justify this gnawing terror. The trees swayed in a breeze I couldn't feel within my steel cocoon, their motion a silent taunt. Tomorrow I'd radio Adam again, repeat the same queries, receive his steadfast reassurances. I'd strive to believe him for the alternative, that this place harbored a malevolent presence, was a terror too vast to confront, a specter that lurked in the corners of my mind, whispering doubts I dared not voice. The afternoon sun waned, its golden light fading, when the radio jolted me from my mundane task of wiping down weather instruments, Adam's voice slicing through the stillness with an edge of strain that set my pulse racing. I fumbled the cloth, nearly sending it spiraling over the platform's edge, and snatched the microphone. "Dave, you there?" His tone, typically a bastion of calm, trembled with an undercurrent of panic. "Yeah, I'm here. What's going on?" A pause, laden with static, then his words emerged, measured, as if each syllable required careful selection. "I need to tell you about last night, around 2 a.m. I was checking instruments when I saw someone walk out of the trees. A man, maybe 50 or 60, in an old-fashioned hunting outfit, wide-brimmed hat, leather boots, like something from a Western film, decades out of date. I gripped the microphone tighter, the image conjuring a shiver, the anachronism unsettling against the modern wilderness. What did he want? Directions. He asked how to get to the nearest town. I pointed east, said the main road was 15 miles. Pretty standard, right? The pause that followed stretched into an abyss, unnerving, as if the connection had severed. I nearly called his name when his voice returned, quieter now, a whisper laced with dread. "Dave." This guy just stared at me, not confused, not grateful, just empty eyes, like looking into a void. It made my skin crawl. I set the microphone down, wiping sweaty palms on my jeans, the tower's breeze suddenly insufficient, the air thick with a stifling heat. "Did he say anything else?" I asked, retrieving the radio, my voice steady despite the tremor in my hands. "That's the weird part." I offered water, figuring anyone out at 2 a.m. was dehydrated or lost. Even said I could radio for help to get him to civilization. He shook his head and walked back into the trees. No thanks, no follow-up questions, just vanished. I moved to the north-facing window, the forest an endless expanse toward Adam's distant tower, its silhouette lost in the green sea. "Maybe he's a survivalist," I ventured, injecting a lightness I didn't feel, living off the grid, distrusting authority. The explanation felt fragile, a house of cards against the storm of his tale. "Here's what bothers me," Adam whispered, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial hush. "I checked the trail cameras this morning, All of them. He should have appeared on at least 3 feeds. But there's nothing. Road sensors didn't trip either. My mouth dried, the implication staggering. The cameras, motion-activated and strategically placed, and the sensors, designed to detect the slightest disturbance, should have recorded him. Equipment malfunction? I suggested, my voice a hollow echo. Checked it all, connections, batteries, everything's perfect. It's like he materialized, spoke, then vanished into thin air. I sank into my chair, the cleaning supplies abandoned, my mind a whirl of disbelief. People get lost out here, I said, grasping for rationality. Maybe he followed deer trails, wore vintage gear, hand-me-downs perhaps. Adam's bitter laugh cut through the static. I've seen lost hikers, scared, confused, dehydrated. This wasn't that. Those eyes were something else. Dave, something inhuman. After signing off, I lingered in the tower, my gaze fixed on the forest as evening shadows lengthened, stretching like tendrils across the ground. Adam's tale replayed in my mind. The empty eyes, the outdated attire, the undetected presence. A loop that defied logic. Normal explanations withered under scrutiny. As darkness fell, the sounds intensified. A cacophony of screeches, wails, and a laughter-like echo that chilled my blood. I checked the locks, bolt, chain, handle, obsessively, my sanctuary 30 feet above the ground feeling more like a cage. Shadows flickered beyond the windows, too indistinct to confirm, branches or imagination battling with a rising dread. The noises ceased at dawn, leaving me hollowed, coffee trembling in my grasp. I avoided calling Adam, fearing his night echoed mine, reluctant to confess the figures we glimpsed might be more than mirages. 3 days later, the auditory assault worsened. Screams ricocheting from multiple directions, sobbing at 3 a.m. so clear I opened the door before slamming it shut, and a wolf howl where no wolves had roamed for decades. I logged each disturbance, seeking patterns, but the notebook's pages read like a madman's journal. Timestamps and descriptions that spiraled into chaos. That night, a figure stood in the moonlit clearing, its stillness unnatural, its gaze fixed on my tower. Binoculars revealed nothing before Adam's urgent call shattered the moment. Dave, pick up. Can you see anything near my area? His panic mirrored mine. Someone's watching me, but there's nothing when I look. I scanned the clearing, empty, the absence itself a void that felt wrong. Maybe nerves, I offered, unconvinced. No, he insisted. Someone's out there. A storm alert followed, trapping us for a week. Adam's confession. Screams, figures, the hunter's return with dead eyes and blood, shattered my denial. He planned to quit. I agreed it was wise. His final transmission, the hunter climbing, then silence, left me alone. The storm a cage with an unseen predator. Rescue arrived, but Adam's tower revealed a struggle. No body, only scratches. I quit, seeking normalcy in Seattle, but the memories, dead eyes, screams, haunted me. James Harrison's disappearance, mirroring Adam's, confirmed the pattern. I stayed silent, the truth a burden, as the forest claimed another, its hunger unending. Are you drawn to unravel the mysteries of the wilderness? Or does the thought of unseen watchers in the dark send a shiver you'd rather avoid?